Welcome back to Yes, Quit Your Day Job, real talk for music industry creatives. Today's episode features Jonathan Price, touring musician, band leader, and founder of Mainstage Music Group, a company that supports artists behind the scenes with production, routing, and tour strategy. John's been on the road with bands like Static X, Motor Grader, Cultist Black, and yes, even Seven Factor. But what sets him apart isn't just his talent on stage, it's the hustle off stage. He's the guy loading gear, solving problems, and making the whole operation run smoother. We get into what professionalism really looks like on the road, why budgeting ahead of time saves you money, and why the local band label is outdated, especially when it's tied to scammy ticket selling deals that only benefit the venue. If you've ever felt stuck in the early stage grind, or you're wondering how to step up your game as an artist and a business, this one's for you. Let's go.
All right, Jonathan, how you doing, man? Welcome to Yes, Quit Your Day Job. Tell us, for those that don't already know you, tell us a little bit about you and kind of your backstory, where you got started, stuff like that.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for having me on. And yes, definitely quit your day job if you know what you're doing. But but yeah, a little bit of backstory. So my name's Jonathan Price, 38 years old. I've been a touring musician for probably the better portion of 17 plus years. Started out young age, about 8 years old. Mom got me a piano, and then it's kind of transferred, musically and just really listening to music and bands. And then got into heavy metal, rock, industrial around like 13 years old. Decided to start my band when I was 14 because I was like, okay, I can only play piano and heavy metal. There's no piano players in heavy metal bands, you know. So yeah, I just was like, I couldn't play anything else at the time. Took on vocals. And then I found that I was like, I really love the performance element of music and especially with like traveling. So I love traveling, love playing music. And I couldn't be one of those artists that sit and like be a studio musician, and huge shout out to anybody out there that does that. But I know for me, opening up, I think it was like Hip Raider magazine, in my younger years and seeing, I think it was like a picture of like Slipknot and like Manson, Skinny Puppy and stuff like that. I was like, I know these are adults, but they look like a playground on stage. And I was like, that is freaking awesome and everything. So I always been into like the theatricality of artists. So if you like look at my career, it's like, oh, it's always in like torn pantyhose making makeup and looking all weird for a long time.
Got a lot of jeans and t-shirts going on, huh?
Oh yeah, and yeah, I couldn't do that, man. Music's always been therapeutic for me, and I know with at least within myself, right, a lot of, we always have bad things that happen to us in life. And, I was a quiet kid growing up. So I just kind of like created this like time capsule of a bunch of dark pain and then resembled it through my performance. And like I said, it was very therapeutic. You go out there and like you headbang and you're jumping around and just going nuts. And, and it's the joy that the music brings out of you. And I couldn't play country music or anything like that. I'd immediately probably get fired. Like, look, this is a slow ballad. Why are you trying to flip it?
I've been on stage with you. I think you licked the side of my head once. So yeah, I can attest to that.
And then from the the music side of things, it kind of transferred as I got older. Wanted to go into like entrepreneurship. I did a few like promotion companies when I was younger, and I kind of focused just around like my wheelhouse, which at that point was like industrial bands.
Sure.
So there was a guy, Adam, that was the booking agent for BKM Talent, who was the booking agency for Metropolis Records. And Metropolis Records didn't have a connecting point between Chicago and or Illinois and Ohio. So they got a hold of me and then found me through a couple guys from like the Dismantled crew back in the day.
Yeah, Gary.
Yeah. And so they reached out to me and, they were like, hey, man, like you brought in, this show and everything. And it actually did really well. We didn't even know there was a place that we could bring shows like this in Indiana, hey. And then they started throwing me like Android Lust and like Comic Christ and a bunch of other bands and stuff like that. So, I mean, I liked promoting and putting on shows and everything. And it was also a really good catalyst because I was in a band at the time. So I could just put my band on that show every single time.
I think we've all done that at some point.
Right, exactly. I ain't buying on to shit. But no, and then going into my early 30s, I went to a business conference in 2021, and
Miami, right?
yeah, down in Miami,
I
for
remember
that
that.
Connects Growth Conference, and it was like the guest speakers and everything that was really really cool, but also the people that I got to meet, and there was a lot of people that did like coaching and stuff, and then I had a mentor as well that I was working with automotive sales coach, so huge shout out David Lowe, um, but I was thinking about it and I was like, wait, nobody, I mean, so many people would benefit knowing that you could do things a lot faster by being a smart artist.
Yeah.
And for the longest time in my career, like I sacrificed so much, much like a lot of artists did back in the day. I mean, you'd sit there and you'd sacrifice everything from like rent payments to your living situation or whatever, as long as you could keep achieving a dream. So, like, how I got to where even where I'm at now has came from a lot of sacrifice. And with today's day and age, I think a lot of artists have it more easy, but it's a lot more work, right? So it's like you can sacrifice everything but your why, you know.
Yeah.
So if yeah, don't sacrifice your why. So if you've got a family life or you've got bills and stuff that you have to pay, a roof over your head, yeah, it's not smart in today's day and age to sacrifice those things because
People
we
do it though. They definitely
well,
do it.
and I can understand that if I go back to like my mentality from like 13 years ago, right? And I figured that you have to just go after and attack every single opportunity because it's never going to come around again.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is you can make your own reality. You can make your own success. You can make your own opportunities. It's going to cost money. Like you are going to have to. So if it's like you get an opportunity to tour with a band and say you're an artist, that's like, man, like I'd love to go out and tour with this artist, but we don't have $15,000 to like buy onto this tour. Well,
I,
that's
not even just the buy on, but people, the we talked a little bit about this off camera, but like just the cost of getting a vehicle. And
yeah.
if you're, depending on how you run your band, some bands it's like, okay, we're all in this together and we're all chipping in and we're all getting paid. Or some bands, it's one guy, you got to pay your people, they're hired guns, so to speak. We see that a lot in industrial. And so that's just getting from one venue to the other, and you got to pay for merch up front because that's where a lot of your revenue is going to come from on the back end. And there's rehearsal costs, and I feel like a million other costs pile up where something that looks like it's going to cost 5 grand without a buy on winds up costing 15 grand,
Oh yeah, 100%. And yeah, and that's just like you were saying, that's just getting your name solidified as that, hey, during this set time frame, I'm gonna go out and go after this opportunity. But
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer and it took, and there's a lot of times I've faltered on this, and especially like, like with like financial literacy, for an example, and especially as like a musician or a band, you talked about, if it's everybody chipping in, which is great to have. And I mean, it obviously alleviates a lot of cost off of a single individual. But at the same point in time, I think there's a very powerful conversation that needs to be going into with your people in the band, because you have to realize and find out how serious people are willing to take it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you have this, you've got you and four other people, five other people, or however many people that you've got in your brand, right? And you all have this, you try and have the, what was it, the Napoleon Hill statement of the mastermind principle, where two or more people come together with the same desire and drive, and they come up with a better idea together than they would have came up with individually. You have to have these conversations on every single level. It's like, okay, we can play through this set, we know the songs, that's fantastic, but you need
Small
to,
part of it.
yeah, very, very small part of it. You got to sit down with your people and be like, okay, like just sit down with your crew and say, okay, where's everybody's finances at? Like literally right now, like how much money, if we said we had an opportunity, we put all of our money together right now, and this is what we could afford right now. And even if it's not anything, that's the first step of understanding like where you need to move forward and grow at that 45-degree angle with your finances, because the finances are going to be what give you the catalyst to be able to do these big opportunities.
Yeah.
And then if you don't, then you run into discouragement. You see a lot of artists or bands, they either break up or people leave the band or whatever because they have to take the high paying day job that only gives them 2 weeks off a year, because we have not still understood that if we're going to be individually knowing that we want to have a house over our heads, so we make sure that we pay our rent. We want to have a vehicle. We want to have these certain things. We already have that mental knowledge and we do these things and we execute these things month after month. But as an artist, you have to have that same commitment on every single part to be able to do this full time, to be able to give it that, if you want to give it a chance to be a successful artist, it can't come from being a weekend warrior. It cannot come from just saying that, oh, well, we'd like to go with like a good producer. We would like to go on, take on some type of opportunity that's going to help our career. But the money cost is, it's scary to us because I don't know if we could come up with 5, 10, however many thousands of dollars to pay for a good producer that can put something out there of good quality and is a known name. But it'd be way easier to go with this guy down the street that only does indie rock music, and we're an industrial metal band, but he's only charging us $200. So
Right.
if we can only afford $200, well, yeah, that's exactly what you're gonna get. And you're gonna waste all that time and all that effort for something that you believed in so much, but you would not put your money where your mouth is or where your heart is, and then you let yourself down, or you will let your brand down, collectively or individually.
Yeah, it costs you more money in the long run. And again, this another thing that you and I have talked about a lot, where both of us outside of our own bands work with other artists in a capacity of artist relations and artist development is the big one. And as a producer and engineer, I mentioned this to you before, but I have people that come up to me and they're like, yeah, I really want to work with you, and they, I want whether it's the skills or the credentials or whatever it is, they approach me and they're like, we really want you on our record, but we just don't have any money to pay you. And with me, that's a big red flag. It's not that I'm concerned as much about the money. I mean, we all need to eat, we all need to, survive, but it's a red flag in the sense of like, you're telling me you're not committed enough to your project to invest into it yourself, but you
100%.
want me to invest into it. You want me to put my name on it, put my time into it, but you're not willing to do these things. And you'd mentioned before, it's like, okay, you went out and you bought the fancy sports car and you bought the big house and you're wearing nice clothes. It's where you're choosing to spend your money. And you're telling me that when it comes to this, you're telling me that you're serious, but your actions are showing me this is more of a hobby, right? And
100%.
and that's that's kind of where the name of this podcast, Yes, Quit Your Day Job, it comes from kind of that mentality of some people when they hear the name, they're like, oh, is this about like quitting your job, or is it like a multi-level marketing thing? Like, what is this? And it really comes from that old saying, when you take all your passion and all your heart and you put everything into your dreams, and then people want to discourage that, and they, you hear that old, oh, don't quit your day job, right?
Yep.
And so the point of this is, no, yes, quit your day job. And what we mean by that is, if you're serious about it, put everything into your passion and invest in yourself, and there's still no guarantees, but at least you're putting into that putting the work in. So
Oh yeah, and like there's this one quote. Now I'm gonna read this on this podcast. I won't try and make it too long-winded, but I
yeah,
posted, I put it on Facebook or whatever. But I mean, this is kind of exactly to what you were just saying. And it's by Theodore Roosevelt, so it's the man in the arena, right? And so he says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself to a worthy cause, who at his best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at his worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with the cold, timid souls who know neither nor victory nor defeat." And that, from what you just said, I mean, it literally tells you like, if you are wanting to do something, yes, you are not going to get it immediately and you will fail over and over and over again.
yeah,
But, I don't believe in winning or losing. You either win or you learn. So then when you have that mental switch of what that L is to you, and you can literally sit there and be like, okay, if this is my passion, if this is something that I care about, I know how to invest my time, my effort into it. Why are you still at your day job? You're
yeah,
getting up every single morning, and what's the thing is if you'll get up, like my question to every artist that has not put in that amount of effort, like how much did it cost you to give up on your dream? Like how
yeah.
much?
And
Was it
those are the ones that
$75,000 a year? Was it $80,000? Are you getting up at 9 in the morning every single day for pennies and your dreams going by the wayside because maybe you just don't have the knowledge, or maybe you haven't had that actual accountability within yourself that maybe this is a hobby to you?
yeah,
You were talking about the client that came to you that want to work with you, but I have no money. That exactly, it's a red flag. It's like you're just telling me that this is a hobby for you,
yeah,
but in your hobby, you want the greatest things that come from being, an artist that puts in the work.
yeah,
You know,
and
so
hobbies are great, and but you
yeah,
have to have that honest conversation with yourself and people you're working with, and going, hey, you know what? I have a little bit of a budget. This is really a hobby. This is. I have very long conversations with people before I start working with them on what their goals are. Like, what is this? What is it you want to do? What do you want to accomplish?
oh yeah, like
Um,
Shadowson, I mean, I'll say this, and this is the first time I actually have ever talked about this or even said this. I think even out in the open outside of the members. I put a hypothetical scenario back when I was trying to build Shadowson, and it felt like I was running into just all of these different problems and everything, and that will kind of translate to why I changed it over to Price now.
yeah,
But when I was doing Shadowson, coming back from like the last Motivator tour that I did with them and everything, I wanted to like start my own band again and then bring people from Indianapolis because that was my hometown. I was like, I know a lot of great artists there, like kind of like bring them up, with me type of deal. And I ran with that for maybe about a year and a half, 2 years. And it got to a point to where it was just we kept running into problems, scheduling issues. So I put a hypothetical scenario out there and I threw it in the band chat where I was like, hey, in 3 months, we've got this tour that we're going to be putting together. We're going to be out for 3 weeks, just letting you guys know.
yeah.
And then everybody but one person in the band responded back saying, hey, I don't think I can do that. One of the players in the band was like, oh, because he played with a few other bands too. He's like, I don't know if I can put my cover band to the side for that long and stuff like that. And I fired everybody.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that kind of is like you're saying, I just had to feel out where my people were, and everybody was kind of saying, we did like the sideshow music video, and I think that was kind of like our from going from like rehearsal space to actually like shooting a music video. And huge shout out to Tom Crane who did the actual production of that video and filmed it. But it was kind of like seeing that music video, and once it went like live on YouTube and Facebook and everything, it was like, okay, we have solidified that we are a fucking band now.
we're an entity. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
putting ourselves out there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was the first time you and I ever met in person because you had a layover in Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
and I had just moved to Vegas, and that was like right in the
It was
kind of
like
the height
right
of
at
the
COVID.
pandemic.
Yeah. We were nervous about it too because we put a post out saying that we were looking for extras for the video, and it was being shot in my hometown. So I mean, I think we had like 150 or like 200 people that were literally just like saying, hey, I want to be a part of the video, let me know when and where.
Yeah.
And we hit up the lady that was letting us rent this huge freaking facility I'd never walked into until like the day before we were shooting. Like it was nuts. 42,000 square feet, 2 floors.
Wow.
So yeah, I had to set the whole staging for like that whole music video. I literally staged everything in
Yeah, I
there.
remember. I remember
Yeah,
all that.
so
That's
and when I told her, I was like, so if we had extras, like we had about this many people that's coming in, and she was just like, "Are you insane?" She's like, it is the pandemic. She's like, the max I would let you have in the main floor room would be like 15 people. So even in the video when we were shooting, we there's like the duality scenes of like the throne chair candelabra scene, and then there's like what we call the dirt room. And it was a room under construction in that building surrounded by plastic, and we drug about like 10 freaking guardrails out, and then we had to separate people 6 feet apart, like just watching us perform. And we had one speaker, so there's
what a
just
weird
loud
time.
drums, and we knew the song. You could not, like, the people watching had no idea what the song sounded like. They just saw us going ape shit, me yelling at a camera and loud drums. And then after the video came out, they're like, this was actually a really good song. Like,
Amazing. Well, so you mentioned your own bands. You mentioned touring with others, and in the middle of all that, that's when you launched Main Stage Music Group. Like, you mentioned going to Miami, and that was that kind of the inspiration. Is that what sparked that, or what sparked that decision?
well, from like I said, with the entrepreneurial aspects, I've tried it in different areas, and I think if you're an artist or starting a band, like you're an entrepreneur as well. And so when going down to this business conference, it was nice being in a different group of people. So I wasn't around like a bunch of musicians or anything like that. Not saying that that's bad or anything,
Yeah,
but I was around people that made $10 million that year, or made a few billionaires, or people that were just making, you know, $150,000, $250,000 a year and stuff. And some of
Working
them,
in industries that make money.
exactly, it's like I fucked up and went to the wrong field, you know. But no, we don't. On a serious note, though, you know, yeah, it was like having conversations, and like there's people that I was talking to that did like coaching for companies and everything. And I was kind of like just getting advice, and I was like, you know what, you know, having mentors is huge. You know, Michael Jackson had Clive Davis; he's one of the biggest pop artists around. You know, I've had mentors, and I had one, you know, even younger, and like I had to look up to people. And like I was when I was growing up, I was the like if I went to go see a band that I liked, I was the first one there, and I was the last one to leave. Like
Yeah.
as the headlining band pulled away, I was the last person that walked away from onto that sidewalk. Or when they finished up, I knew at some point they're gonna have to go to the back to load out. So a lot of the bands that I really enjoyed growing up or whatever, I was the ones either standing out in the freaking rain or the cold, or just standing and waiting just to get a conversation. And I wasn't trying to be like, oh, you know, you guys had an amazing show or everything. Like I we were talking with I think it was oh, who was it was a guitar tech for band name's facing me right now. But anyway, he had been with this band for like 15 years, and that's all he knows is just being a guitar tech. He doesn't have any other job. He just goes out and he becomes he's a guitar tech. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, so what gets you up every single day to do this and everything?" And like finding out like, you know, what's the benefit of being a guitar tech, or for a band having a guitar tech, you know, because there's a guitar player that can easily just change his strings or easily just do this. And then he
In
starts
theory.
in theory, right? But you have to look at like if you have a 45-minute window or an hour-long window, or as a headliner, and that's the performance time, like you have to give the crowd 150% every single show. You break that string, no one's gonna sit there and shut the show off for 5 minutes, 10 minutes while you change that damn string. You have a
Yeah.
guitar, either a backup guitar or somebody that will literally go rip that guitar off and you hand you another one, and he'll restring that before the next song's even ready to go.
Absolutely. You have
And you
to.
know, and it's like the same reason why you would pay a like say an interior painter or a plumber that's charging an extreme amount of money. So like say a job was 5 grand, it's like, man, I don't know if I want to pay 5 grand, but you pay it, and then you get upset because the plumber did it in 45 minutes. Well, that's why you're paying 5 grand, because that dude doesn't need to stay there at your place for, you know, however long days on end, completely, you know, do these different scheduling things with you. He knows his whole process.
You're paying for the time it took him to do it in 45 minutes.
100%. You know, and you know, it's the same way with everything. This is why you go through a good producer. This is why you go through, you know, certain people in this industry, because they've been there, you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, that advice and everything is invaluable, you know. And the only thing I could say when I was coming up with the ideas, leaving that business conference, because like, you know, motivation's temporary. Like I'll tell you right now, that entire weekend, everybody was rah rah rah, you know,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and stuff. But it was the
They're drinking
flight.
the apple juice, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And it was the flight home, honestly, that was the really big like aha moment. I was sitting there trying to figure out like you know, I have enough experience and I've done things the right way and the wrong way. I've sometimes done things to where it's taken a little bit longer than what could be done way quicker in today's day and age.
Yeah.
And there's so many artists that I've even just talked to, and especially being out and touring, all the bands that have opened up for bands that I've been a part of and everything. And like that mentality is still there of what I had like 13, 15 years ago. And I'm like, that's a problem, you
Yeah.
know?
I've noticed that a lot. There's the, you know, that whole concept of a local band, right? And I think that when you and I started, it there was a clear kind of, I don't want to say it was a lie, but there was a clear thing that was kind of laid out, which was, okay, you start as a local band, and you know it's that all local bands become national, or all national bands were local at one point.
Yeah.
Which I'm one of the few people that I think that's complete bullshit, right?
Uh,
Um, but I think that there was this idea, and at one time I think it was real, that you start off as a local band and you build this local following, and then you will have fans and you'll be regional, and then once you're regional, you'll get a buzz, and all of a sudden the A&R people and will start to
Mhm.
hear about you, and somebody will come check out your show and then go, hey, I want to put you on tour with, you know, Guns N' Roses or whatever it is. And
So awesome.
yeah, and that was the way you did things, right?
Yeah.
but we also didn't have social media then. The way that people consumed music and found new music, and the way even that they went to shows was drastically different 20 years ago than it is now. But I still see these bands that are like, yeah, we're a local band and we gotta, sell tickets to get on every local show, because if we do that enough times, then that's going to be our big break. And it never happens. It's not a linear path. It doesn't, sure, there's outliers and it can happen, but that's not the path to do that. I've never known a band, and I've never been in a band that we got our big break because we were selling tickets or being a street team for a local venue promoter,
Oh, 100%.
or because we opened the, Fort Lauderdale show for some major tour. Like a week later, nobody remembers that, and that's what you don't realize. Kind of, you zoom out on that bigger picture and you think, this is our big break. We're opening up for Static X or Fear Factory or Manson or whatever. But you zoom out on that, and
Small dot, man.
yeah, your fans have already seen you. The people that wanted to see that show, most of them show up after that support, that local support. It doesn't have that impact you think it does. And so I think that me being on tour, and same thing, bands would open up for us, or we'd have local support, and it would be, you'd see that people, like young kids, are still thinking that there's a linear path that way, that, they probably sold tickets to be on the tour we're on, but we got on it because we built a following in other ways, and we had people in that area, and obviously social connections. You and I have both gotten on a lot of tours because we have good reputations for what we do, and we have friends in the industry that call us up and go, hey, we're putting a tour together. Do you have a band? Do you want to get on it? Like, they don't realize that's where a lot of that value is.
Well, and I preach this all the time, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, and I will still say this to this day. I've never given a fuck about like numbers. I like the whole numbers game, and especially with social media nowadays. Like people could go to any page that I have and be like, okay, well, who the hell is this guy to give me advice with? Is like, I've got more followers than he does. Oh, well, that's cool.
Right.
I guarantee if we exchanged phones, it'd be a little different story.
Yeah.
Because
who can call up and get book studio time right now with a Grammy Award-winning producer who can get you on a tour that's a small arena tour or playing 500-seat venues,
Yeah, 100%. And it's about the power of networks. If you just replace that freaking in and just focus on the network, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You literally have to put in the work, yes. And a lot of artists that think kind of like what we were talking about, just doing that little hamster wheel approach to everything. And yeah, and I think the downfall with social media is it shows the anomalies, right? So people will see these anomalies or these videos. I mean, like the amount of gurus that you can see on just YouTube alone, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I can listen to somebody for like their first 5 minutes of talking, like, you haven't even done this.
Right.
Yeah, like you watched somebody else's video, thought it was cool, and then you repeated the same bullshit to get their audience, and then you'll see bands do the same thing, right? They'll sit there and like, oh, I like freaking Motionless in White, so we're going to be a band that sounds just like Motionless in White because the industry loves Motionless in White. Well, the truth of the matter is the industry already has a Motionless in White.
Exactly. And I think it's funny, where if I'm working with somebody, whether it's in a mentorship, because I mentor other people, but I also have mentors, and you hit the nail on the head with that. It doesn't matter how successful you are, having mentors to guide you is key at every stage of your career. And I would rather have a mentor that is like, hey, I can't meet with you this week because I'm going on tour. It's like, oh, you're out here doing this. You're not just selling me something, like you're doing this. That's why that's why I'm paying you.
Yeah, and I've done that quite a few times. I mean, there's been times where I've had like I'll show up, we'll do like load in, and like while everybody's taking that next hour to go get food or like sleep in the green room or whatever, and just kind of get prepped for the show. Like I'm literally sitting out leaning up against like the trailer or in the bus or something like that on a freaking videos, either Zoom call or FaceTime or something with a client doing the same thing. And it's like, oh, what are you up to right now? But like, I'm literally to hit the stage in whatever city and state that I'm in right now, but I am making time for you. But once again, like you were saying, like having those type of conversations to where it's like these people are busy because they're living the life and living the words that they speak.
Yeah. Exactly. I can attest to that too, because I remember us being on tour together and you and I both were on video calls and literally working while we're touring. And on that Cyclone 9 tour, John Siren was their drummer, and he was doing the same thing because he does a lot of his fitness coaching and his lifestyle. Um, because he's written a book, if you remember, on
Oh
just
yeah, yeah, a touring vegan, yeah.
touring vegan. Yeah. So I remember I would see him on the phone with clients that doing the same thing where everybody else is sleeping in because they partied all night and he's up at 8 in the morning in the back of the trailer on a video call. And I'm like, the fuck is this guy? Like he's an animal, you know?
Dude is, man. And then, huge shout out John Siren, man. I've known that guy back
Oh, he's
into
great.
like
Yeah.
Mankind is Obsolete era.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we did a show. I was playing in a band called Nix at the time, and they rolled through this venue in Terre Haute, Indiana. And I think that was like the first time that we had met. We were like Facebook, or not Facebook, MySpace friends
Oh,
back in
God.
the day. And yeah,
Back on Friendster and AOL
so
chat,
for all
right?
your audience out there watching, this is how dated this conversation's about to get.
Back
But
on Live Journal, we used to.
yes. But man, that's how it starts though, and it was a friendship that stood the freaking test of time, and like I've watched this guy just completely crush it, and nothing has changed. I mean, like, and that's the thing is like, for any artist out there that's listening, and it doesn't even matter if you're an artist or not, like, life at some point is just gonna have to roll over and give it up because it cannot handle that type of commitment level to
Oh,
anybody.
yeah. He is one of the most dedicated, committed, but also talented. Like he's got the talent to back it up, but his work, if he had just the talent and not the work ethic he does, I don't think he would be as successful as he is. He's one of the most sought after drummers because of that.
Oh, 100%. And the dude, I mean, like, you have to think about it, man. I mean, and especially with us, like, we have toured a bunch
Yeah.
and everything, but like, for those that haven't, or the people that are aspiring to do that, like, you really have to, like, John would be a great example. I mean, like, this guy is a road dog,
I
but
gotta get, I gotta get him on the podcast.
oh,
I'm
dude,
gonna reach
dude,
out, say what's up to him.
that would be a great podcast, and especially a lot of the insight that he has. I mean, this dude goes all over the freaking planet, man. And
I think he's in Poland tonight. They're playing. He's in
yeah.
Castle Fest. Cyclone 9's playing tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
And
last
that's the
night.
thing
I
is
know
like
they're
he'll
there.
go on these tours and then come back and then go on another tour with like IMX or
Yeah.
just somebody, and he knows he's such a good drummer that he can play in multiple different bands, multiple different styles, and show up every single day. Because the one thing that between like your day job to being a musician, that the musician side or the touring musician side will have over everything, including your day job, is you can call off on your day job.
Oh
You can
yeah,
call
there's
in
no calling off.
yeah, you show up sick to a freaking venue, or maybe you drank too much and you're hungover, but man, I don't want to play tonight, and you've had tickets sold for your show and you've already committed to this, the flyers went out. Yeah, you're gonna have to go drink some Pedialyte, suck it up, Buttercup, and go get on that freaking stage.
You and I have both gone on stage, and between songs, we're puking in the side.
Oh,
You know.
oh,
And the-
I can remember quite a few nights where I'd be on stage and I'm like headbanging. I'm just like, oh, 20 more minutes left. 20 more minutes.
Yeah, just watching that clock, like, please, because you still give 100%, but when that's done, like, don't talk to me until tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
You're listening to Yes, Quit Your Day Job, the show where we get real about what it takes to make music your life. If you're enjoying the episode, do us a favor. Hit subscribe, drop a rating or review, and if you've got a question you want answered on the show, email us at boss@yesquityourdayjob.com. Want to work with Seven? Check out everything Factor Studios has to offer at yesquityourdayjob.com, from production and development to full career strategy. All right, back to the episode.
So you've been on the road, we talked about this, but you've been on the road with Static X and Motor Grader and Cultist Black, and you've been on the road with me with Seven Factor. Give us a snapshot of like what those tours taught you, not just as a performer, but now somebody who also manages other artists.
Yeah, I mean, so with having like the bigger tours, like with like the motivator side of things, and going out with like Static X and everything, there's a very big difference between what I would be doing on, and I don't want to say this, but I guess maybe as a pop culture way of saying in the local level area, or maybe like just you're not the known artist, you're going out on tour, you're not probably filling out the venues where you're playing, but you're at least going out on the road.
Well,
So
even that tour we did with Seven Factor. I mean, it was us and Cyclone Nine, and it was a, I wouldn't say anybody was local, but it was also right after COVID. So we're
oh yeah.
playing, so we're playing some shows where there's 400 people, and then we're playing in a laser tag arena with 12 people.
And you want to go down and play laser tag.
Yeah. I was like, man, I really want to play laser tag instead of doing a show. Um,
Yeah,
but I
no.
remember because you did that Static X tour like right after that, and I was like, fuck, man, he came off our tour and he's doing that, and like, oh my god, that looks like so much fun.
I mean, it's always 50-50, right? Yes, definitely it's fun, but there's definitely more of a professionalism that you kind of like have to have. And not saying that there is a lack of professionalism in both those tour regards, because we were very professional. We showed up on time. We did what we needed to do every single night. But when it comes to like a big tour package to where you're playing like 4,000 people, like the tour's been sold out for a year, you're playing in front of no less than 4,000 people a night.
Yeah,
It's a whole different expectation, and also a process when you roll up to it. I mean, you're rolling up to venues at 9 in the morning. There's like 4 buses, there's a tour manager, then there's like techs around, and like you have to be there at 9 a.m. You may not sound check till 4 o'clock in the evening, but you have to show up for check-in at 9 a.m.,
yeah,
kill some time while they do all the setup and then their sound checks, and then finally you get like a line check, and then it's like, oh, you got an hour to get ready, and then freaking go at it and stuff. And with going on every single one of those tours, you kind of have to do like, I did a lot of self-reflection with that. It's really, really awesome to kind of like sit in like the green room or walk out onto the stage like as the intro is playing before the music even starts, and be like, living in the body of what is here right now.
yeah,
To be
cool.
a person from like, your young years of going to like Ozfest back in the day as like a fan, like looking up at the stage, and then now the freaking whole world has been reversed, and now you're in that position, and it's very, very humbling, and you definitely feel blessed by it. But I mean, like the mental preparation, the financial preparation, and just knowing that we talk about work ethic, it's like that's where it gets put to the test,
Yeah,
because you can get easily kicked off of a tour for
yeah,
any.
and when that happens, you're probably not going to get offered another one.
Oh yeah, and that's when your credibility will like either get shot down the freaking drain, or like people will know like in that upper echelon, because those techs also tech for other big bands.
Yeah,
So
everybody knows everybody. God,
yeah.
everybody knows everybody.
So how is your name going to come out of somebody else's mouth? And that's the only thing that I will say, that regardless of what tour you go on, whether it's small tours or big tours, I mean, like it's the venue, it's the sound guy, it's your own band, when it comes to like the lower levels of touring, and then when it goes into like the big festivals, the arenas, the 4,000 plus capacity places and stuff, like once again, like it's the same thing. How is your name going to be echoed out of somebody else's mouth? And
All your
that
favorite
can
bands
travel.
talk to each other.
Yeah. And that travels far. I mean, I even coming off of the Cyclone tour with you, I remember getting called and asked to go out and like be like a roadie for Tim Skold and Nero, for like, I don't know if it was
Yeah,
Skold or Not My God or like it's one of the three things that they do, and everything. But just due to my schedule, I couldn't do it at the time. But once again, getting like that call, or during like Nero's on the phone with Skold, and he's like talking really good about you or whatever, and to somebody that played with like Manson and KMFDM and stuff like that. So it's like always just having an understanding of like just feel like you're being watched, right? It's
yeah,
like, how, if you want to be professional, then practice your professionalism in these lower levels. I mean, all these people that want like the millions of followers and the big, like think about where you're at right now, whether it be mentally or as an artist. How would you handle 2 million people judging you on everything that you do right now? And if you don't have those eyes on you right now, that's great, because you got time to fuck up. You got
yeah.
time to
You have the
fall.
luxury of not having
Yes.
the fans pay attention to you, and once you start getting up there, the fans you get those obsessive fans that they want to know everything about you, right?
Oh
how do
yeah.
you how do you live up to that scrutiny, and then also how do you live up to the, oh man, we really need a really good tech for this tour,
Mm.
you know I remember Price worked with us on that one tour and he just killed it. Or it could go the other way. I'm like, oh man, that one thing happened. I don't know if we should, and it could go either way, and it could change in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is like and you will have fuck ups, somewhere
Sure.
along the way. Everybody is human, but I think you also have to keep in mind before the fuck up, do you have enough of a resume that will overshadow that one fuck up?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you're a consistent fuck up or you're somebody that just consistently just keeps letting people down, then maybe you need to understand that, have some like self-internal shit that you need to work on, and then figure out if this is actually something that you want to do. But like I said, there's gonna come times where you're not gonna have your best moments or whatever, and all you got to do is get back up the next day and know that this day right now that you're getting ready to start is not yesterday. And
Yeah.
then if you get back on your grind and you just show that, hey, this isn't a permanent thing. This isn't something that's going to continue. I learned from my mistake. I'm sorry that it happened. Be accountable for that situation and move the fuck on. And then just
Yeah.
go back at it. Like, and you have to do that with music in general. Like, yeah, you're going to have a song that you put thousands of dollars into a music video for. They put thousands of dollars into the studio production of it, and maybe it doesn't hit the way that you wanted it to, or maybe nobody fucking cares. And then you get discouraged and be like, well, I'm never spending that much money on anything else. And yet, no, there were certain things that you didn't do. The reason why nobody knows about that is your fault. The
Yeah.
reason why you're playing the small clubs still 10, 15 years of being a band is your fault.
Yeah.
And when you have that personal realization, like it's only up from there. A ball that doesn't hit the bottom can't bounce back. So like, are you gonna just deflate, or are you just gonna figure out that, hey, okay, this isn't working, but if we just put these other things in place before we try and do this, we're gonna see a way different result. And then
Yeah.
that,
It's that personal accountability, and also, like you mentioned, the building relationships is so important. You've worked with like Jay Gordon from Orgy, for example. How did that come together?
yeah. So 2018, we went out. So it was the Bring Your Army tour. So it was Orgy, Motivator, Brand of Jewels, and something Crown. I feel bad for forgetting the band name. Um, no, the Crown. Sorry, the Crown.
Something Crown, got it.
Yeah, so there's a crown involved somewhere. But yeah, I remember Nuke sending me this it was like 2 or 3 in the freaking morning or whatever, sent me this freaking picture of this arena and everything, and he was like, "We're going on the orgy," and I think that was a typo, but I was like, "We're about to what?" And then he
What
meant
did
to
I sign
say,
up for,
"We're going
man?
on tour with Orgy" and everything. So, but he showed a picture of the State Farm Arena, and it was one of our stops on that tour, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like we're playing an arena? Oh hell yeah!"
Wow.
And it was because Puddle of Mud and Saliva and then our tour package were merging together in the same night.
Oh, okay.
And so Laredo, Texas, we go and we play this arena.
Texas
And
always has such great shows.
oh yeah, no doubt. Huge shout out to Texas. It's such a huge state to freaking drive through, man. But
Yeah, it takes like 4 days to drive through it, but they have
oh,
great
for sure.
shows.
You do actually do a mini tour in Texas if you wanted to.
100%.
But and I had never, spoken to like Jerry or anybody from like Orgy prior to this or anything like that. And then we start the tour, and like you would think, and I've been out on some tours where like the headliner is like always on their bus, always in the green room, never hardly see them or anything like
Yeah.
that. And they were just so down to earth, really, really chill and relaxed. Like, I think I spoke with all of the band members the first freaking day. And
Wow. Cool.
we were just kind of like we shot the shit, and then it was like the second or third day I came out of the venue, and I think we were in maybe like Florida or something like that, and
Another
the
great
bus
place to
was
play.
yeah. And
Usually.
yeah, depending on where you play, but yeah, it was like somewhere at the far end of the parking lot. Is like the Orgy's tour bus, and I just and for those that don't know, I also used to go by the name Zero, so I just heard, "Hey, Zero," and I turn and I look, and Jay is like this big. That's how far the parking lot was, and he just chucks this football into there, and it's like pitch black dark outside, so he just throws it into oblivion. And I'm like looking, and I still can't see this thing, still can't see this thing. And then this little freaking missile comes out of nowhere, and I catch it, but he hits me like dead in the chest from freaking like 50 yards away. And so if this dude was not a touring, like platinum known freaking artist, he would probably be an NFL quarterback. Not even like
Yeah.
joking on
Yeah,
this.
he's like 9 feet tall and very athletic.
Exactly. And and it was small things like that, man. Like, I mean, literally every single day I think on that tour was like at some point we were throwing the football outside of a venue, and then yes, he's a musician and everything, but he's definitely a family man, great dad and everything. He's on the phone with his kids after he gets off the stage and everything, make sure that that gets handled on a day to day. And then, like I said, we just kind of, chatted and everything. And then it got to a point, I think, like halfway through the tour when I think the singer and the guitar player, Moto, got really pissed off at me. I think, I think me and the singer almost actually got into a fight on stage. But,
Happens.
well, so like, I was really good friends too, with the tour manager, Sarah at the time. So
Cool.
we go and like I knew the code to get onto their bus, so it was just like, hey, we pull up to the venue. If there's nowhere to get coffee, or you just want to come in here, because I think they had like an espresso machine that made really good coffee, so like you can just come into the bus and get coffee or whatever and stuff. So
Nice.
we'd roll up in the van and trailer, and then we'd park behind the bus and everything, and then they'd go like walk around. They'd just see me walk up, punch in the code, walk onto the bus, and everything. And so, we'd sit there and we build a really good, friendship, relationship and everything. And then there was a point in the tour where their bass player got into I think it was a scooter accident, and he broke his wrist. And
Oh, wow.
so during that tour, they were like, oh shit, we don't have a bass player down. We still got to finish out these dates. And so Jay came to me and Carlton came to me, and they were like, hey, could you do double duty? Like, I know like you're gonna be coming right off stage from Motivator, but it's like we can like have it to where you have like some type of shirt to where you just have to take the makeup off your
Yeah, I was
face.
gonna say, like, how fast can you get that body paint off?
Yeah, 100%. And like we would take 2 days on the bus, and we're sitting there and like Carlton showing me tracks and everything like that. So like, there's a point where I was potentially going to be playing bass for Orgy on the
Yeah.
same tour that I'm playing in Motivator. So for me, I was all about that. But once
Yeah.
again, like going back to how like Orgy just as a brand and the corporation that it really is, and huge shout out to Lou, who just he handles things like so fast, so efficiently, and so quickly that the minute he found out that they had the issue with the bass player when he broke his wrist, they already had, I think it was Creighton coming in, and then they had his like flights set up and everything, and they made to make sure that the band could carry on at full capacity with someone that knew their stuff. And there's a reason why Creighton got that phone call. Now Lou didn't know me from Joe Schmo,
Sure.
at the time
Again,
and
the
stuff.
importance of relationships.
Yeah, and and coming off of that tour, it became like we were, always hanging out every time I was in LA. We had a really great time. I think it was like freaking like 2 or 3 years ago on like my birthday. Like he took me out to we went to Dave and Buster's with me, my ex at the time, and then him and his girl at the time, and we were out there and just having a blast, freaking like playing. I think it was like the gun version of Alien versus Predator inside of Dave and Buster's,
Nice.
and stuff. And but yeah, man, it's you build those relationships, and a lot of times, yeah, it's gonna start by like showing your work ethic. It's gonna be like because I was in that band, because like it all goes back to how this would have never happened, because when I joined Motivator, it was not from an audition. I got called because in 2015 I was on the Civil Unrest tour with my industrial band, and we went out and they saw me perform because they were on that tour. And so when my band broke up, it was maybe like a few hours after the post had went up on Facebook, I get a call from Nuke offering me the position to play for Motivator. And
Yeah.
then within that, I have to be in Los Angeles in less than 2 weeks to start a 3 month long tour. And it's like
Damn. Wow.
47
3
shows.
months.
Yeah, it was like 47 shows with like well, maybe not 3 months, but it was like 47 shows, with no days off in between. And then I think it was like 63 dates total. And then I had to be out there for 2 weeks for, the practice and everything like that.
Rehearsals and getting
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
So yeah, the total for me being gone from Indiana in California was about 3 months in the, collective of it. So, if I wouldn't have shown the work ethic in 2015, if the band didn't have this understanding that we needed to make a decision on like having an entertainment company, because we can't just keep doing that same insanity routine or thinking that we could do it all ourselves. So we signed with what was it, Terminal One Agency. Terminal One Agency also was the agency for Motivator at the time. So
Nice.
as soon as we signed on with Terminal One Agency, which was, I think it was like 12 or $1,300 that we paid, and it was like a 16-month retainer. But we knew that we were going to get put on a tour very shortly after signing. So we
Yeah.
had to go and buy a van. We had to go and we had a trailer at the time, but we had to go spend $4,000 randomly at the drop of a hat to go get a van. and then we had to go and then get it freaking diagnostics ran on it. Then we had to go and get merchandise and everything. So
Well,
going back,
we only needed the last 40 days. Can it make it?
right, right, yeah, exactly. And it's like whatever we can do. Like, yeah, we can't blow. We don't have the money to go out and buy something brand new, and we understood our finances, but we also understood the work ethic that we needed to put in, and we're getting put to the test right now. Like, you pulled the trigger on this entertainment company because they told you that they're going to work you,
Yeah.
and you're coming to them saying we want to be worked on a higher level. So
Yeah, it's
you
all about being not just wanting it, but being ready for it. I
yeah,
I
100%.
remember when you came on to in the Seven Factor when we had that tour with Cyclone Nine, and at the time you were essentially a hired gun. Like you and I knew each other, but we hadn't like worked in that capacity. And I remember the didn't take long. It was the first couple days of rehearsals and really the first couple days of tour where I was very impressed by you because you're a hired gun, but you were the first one in that trailer unloading it when it was time to go. Not just our gear, but also Cyclone Nine's gear. And you were the last one out of that trailer every night. Like you were making sure everyone's gear was taken care of and packed in there. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that you got the call because people saw how you work. That's why I still work with you.
No, and I appreciate that, man. But yeah, man, I mean, a lot of the things that artists think about when they're like, oh, I want to get to here or here and just start making moves in their career, and they think it just has to be a song that they put out or a good music video or going out and buying onto a tour. Because I will tell you, any artist that's right now, whatever you do, pay for it twice. So if it's like, oh, we're gonna do a music video. The music video is gonna cost $4,000. Okay, save $8,000. Okay, well, why
Yeah.
saving $8,000? Okay, well, what are you gonna do after that music video goes out? Because you're probably gonna want to market it. You want to learn how to freaking get it out to a wider audience. That's gonna cost money. And then you're probably gonna want to go and do this for another song. Or same way with a tour. Like if you go out for a tour that you buy onto, regardless of the price tag, pay for it twice. Because
Yeah.
it's not about what you do then. Because I'll tell you right now, if we went and just did that Static X tour or just did that Orgy tour, in the moment of that tour, yeah, people are going to be all about it. But if they don't see another, continuance of just the growth, because the reason why if you go and you play your hometown and you sit there and open up for a big band and they are there to see them and you, but you book a show at the same location and not that many people come out, well, why not? Because they're the same people from the same city, from the same state, but people as humans respect the grind.
Yeah.
They can see that their famous bands, the reason why they're fans of them and they know about them, because they had to put in work to be able to come into the ears of these people, and especially people that maybe live in the middle of nowhere or talking pre-internet era, right?
Yeah.
To get a freaking little page in freaking whatever magazine. I mean, that was thousands of freaking dollars, and you also had to
Hit
have the right.
parader or
Yeah, exactly. Like you had to know all of these things, and a lot of times artists didn't. They had labels that would come to them, and they would get like, I think I was watching this interview that Jelly Roll did where he was talking about like in today's present day, he's like, and a big label would come up to you and say, okay, well, here is a artist that's not made a lot of money, if any money, and here is a signing bonus for $500,000. So normal artists would take that $500,000, be like, holy shit, like now we're in the money. Now my success goal, I hit. And then in the contract, it's like, okay, but here's like the deal. It's 80-20. Okay, well, we'll take the 500,000 and we'll just deal with 80-20. Well, no.
you got to pay that back.
Well, yeah, that doesn't come into play until after you pay the 500,000 back.
Yeah. That
So
sounds
you ain't
lonely. You didn't hit the lottery.
until you pay back 500,000, and then you have to look at what you've done up until then. Like, how much money has your brand sold, and run your yearly numbers. I mean, so many bands will sit there and run their yearly stats on freaking Spotify. But if I ask any artist, how much money did you spend last year between even the small things, guitar cable, studio time, gas to drive to shows, what's the number? Nobody knows. Because they don't take it serious enough, and they're gonna maybe feel like it's a backhanded freaking remark that I'm saying or something to piss somebody off. But maybe if it pisses you off, then good, because the truth of the matter is like a brand is a business, a band is a business, and that's why even like with Mainstage Music Group, our saying is we help you turn band into brand, and it's not just because it's like a little catchy little put an R in front of it. Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna sit here and promise you 1 million followers or anything like that, but I'm gonna tell you the work that's what's needed, the things that you need to do. And I don't care what type of artist you are, what type of genre that you play, the formula has stayed the same for decades. The
Sure.
industry may have changed, things that may have went online, digital, yada, 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 but the formula has not changed. And
Well,
they don't
it,
know it.
also that kind of problem solving for artists. Like one thing I've always admired about you, you're helping artists scale their careers without necessarily needing a label money or some, some of these old school kind of gatekeeper vibes. Was that always the goal with Mainstage?
Yeah, I mean, because the only thing that separates like what a label's doing and then what you can do as an independent artist is having the network, having
Yeah.
those connections, having a PR person that you can trust that actually has a resume that knows, and like you can see that if you give them money, you're going to expect results.
Yep.
And if you do this with a booking agent, if you do this with a publicist, you do this with every single element of what needs any type of brand, like you don't even have to go to a band. Like, so, okay, I don't know a famous artist. Like, say you're just an artist that, it's your band, maybe you know a few people in the local scene and that's it. Okay, cool. Go down to the most local mom and pop business that you have. Ask them how they keep going. Go to any franchise business and talk to the freaking, you might not be able to talk to the CEO, but who's the district manager that you could talk to? Or go to an
Sure.
automotive dealership with the dude with this name on it and want to speak with him and be like, hey, can I just interview you for 5 minutes and find out how did you get this from the brick and mortar to present day?
Yeah.
You're going to find a lot of formulas that you can literally just intertwine in your music career and it'll change the game for you completely. And that's why I went down to that business conference in 2021. There was so many like nuggets that I got from so many people that it just helped me to change the whole way of thinking into where it's like, if I would have done this back then, holy shit, like the possibilities that could have even happened even further than where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And
People
so many
people forget with the music business that key word business, right?
exactly. You know, this ain't show business, or was it this ain't show friends at show business, you know? And
Fuck, brutal.
I mean, it's true though. I mean, there's been a lot of times where, like I said, when I had to let the whole crew minus one person from Shadowson go and just like shut that whole thing down. I mean, that was hard. Those were people that I've known for almost like 20 years,
Yeah.
and to like just and I had to take a few days to like really like think of, is there any other reason that I could make this work without having to do this? And the answer came down to no. And it wasn't that they weren't good musicians by any means. These are great
Just the
musicians.
business side of things. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I knew what we needed to do. There's that I know the formula, I know the trail, but you have to be committed to it on this level. And
Yeah.
they just either for whatever reason couldn't. And I understand it. Trust me, I'm not mad at them. We still talk all the time. But once again, I I got to keep going one way or another.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and speaking of keeping going, so your band Price is active. Um, are you writing while on tour? Are you blocking out time to focus on that?
so right now, so like I took 2024 off, and then so going into this year, I've been working on just trying to get just starting at the basics, right? I've spent all this time playing in other bands, helping grow other bands and things like that, to where it's like I think me and the singer from Cultus Black kind of had this conversation too, where we always knew at some point that there was going to have this conversation that we ended up having at the latter end of 2023 was going to come, that I was going to have to make a decision at some point to do my own thing
Yeah.
and focus fully on that. And there's times where like when I was trying to do that and balance both, and then I ended up letting like the band down that I was trying to build because we were just so busy with Cultus. And there were some tours that I just couldn't make due to certain, whatever reasons in life.
Sure.
But but once again, the brand has to keep going, and like it wasn't something that they wanted at the time for it to happen and stuff. But once again, like the brand has to keep going at full capacity, and I was just a touring percussionist and backing vocalist. Now, granted, yes, I was a great performer,
Oh,
but
God, yeah. But
I have to be at all the shows. Like it can't just be anymore. Like the band's getting notoriety, so if they see six people on stage, they need to see that every single time, right? And so
the beauty of a masked band, though, right?
no, right? Yeah, exactly. Business mind,
Yeah.
and so and then like it's been really great though. Like I'm just kind of going into working with David Nazi, great producer and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw
And
that.
Yeah, so and I've just been really kind of taking things slow, maybe a little slower than my bass player Jimmy Minge. So huge shout out to him. He has been like my right hand in this, and he's also done some writing and brought some songs in too. Because I used to be
Cool.
just so like militant about like it's gonna be my songs, simple as that. Don't bring me anything else. You guys don't understand my brain, but but
My band, my vision, my songs, right?
well, and it was also too like it was like and it was a mental thing more that I thought about it. But like I used to believe that it's like, man, I can't like if I had no input on the writing process, like I don't know if I can really as a lyricist like give something that's like 100%.
Oh, I'm the same way. Yeah, I mean, you
You
know
know,
that. Like, yeah.
yeah, and then I just ran into those hurdles and stuff, and then I kind of broke that mold, which has been good. And so right now we're about like halfway through with the songs for the album. We're pulling in some new guys, so I'm trying to get this thing really kind of like into fruition, album done and everything like that, probably around October. But this is going to be like rehearsals are done. We've got live shows scheduled. Albums ready to go. Web store is going to be popping, and then actually doing all the marketing to like bring people into the freaking door, right? People
Yeah.
need to know about this. And like I said, going back from my past experiences, I don't want to go into this and just, okay, here's a profile picture. Oh, here's a Facebook post. We're doing a pre-sales for the album, or here's, whatever. It's like, no, you have to take the business model. You have to learn marketing, target marketing. Like, who do I want to target first? If I've got shows in California, let's say it's Los Angeles, how do I target market Los Angeles? Because everybody's active in Los Angeles. Like, if there's a show at the Whiskey, there's a show at the Viper Room, there's a show at the
Yeah.
Rock.
Across the
Yeah.
street. And
Yeah. So if you have fans in that area, okay, cool. But they're not going to be there at the time the doors open and be there for the rest of the night because their friends are also playing in other different places. Or like maybe you're not a headliner yet. So you're really not holding weight to keep people there. And it's nothing against like your band's bad or you sound bad or anything like that. But there's just way more distractions and way more things that are bigger than you and your moment in that night at the time.
yeah.
So you need to find out like, okay, how do I target this? How do I make this like the place to be in Los Angeles on this specific day? So yeah, I might be reaching out to being like, well, instead of like trying to just play the Whiskey as our band and then bringing in a bunch of locals, like what if I rented out the Whiskey? Now, yeah, that could cost me like $1,400, but if I bring on like Fear Factory or freaking Orgy or something like that, then you're bringing people with notoriety, you're bringing people with a crowd and stuff, and then you're filling out the night. Then you're actually making more money than what you pay to rent the freaking thing.
Thinking outside the box, man. That's what I was talking about. Like the way things used to be done. It's different for sure. Um, where can people find you? Find stuff about Price, find stuff about main stage music. Just if they want to reach out to you with more questions, what are some good places where they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, so you can go, social media, main stage music group, whether it be, Facebook, Instagram. We do have a YouTube channel, so we do offer, and I do put out a lot of free content. So anybody, when it comes to like the touring thing, I did a webinar in 2023 and December, and I went over the cost of touring into a degree. So I actually have that clip during that webinar there. There's
Cool.
also clips from, and I noticed that you did an interview with Aaron Nordstrom, so huge shout out to
Yeah, yeah. We had Aaron on not too long ago at all.
yeah, he was one of my keynotes for that webinar. Him and Kung Fu Vampire. So
Oh
and I
wow.
got those clips on there as well. So yeah,
We had a great. I had a great conversation with Aaron. I really enjoyed talking with him.
oh, it's such an amazing dude, man.
Yeah.
And especially like I always made the joke. I was like, if you could ever think of like God as a heavy metal singer, like that's what he would probably look like.
He's got for sure, and he's got such a great like radio voice where he's so chill, but there's like such wisdom with everything he
Oh, for
says.
sure. And it's all in the white beard, man. Like that's
Yeah, I don't know if you saw any of the clips of him. I put up a bunch of 1 minute clips, and then there's the whole episode is up too.
okay.
Yeah, definitely check that out if you want. There's a lot of reoccurring themes with stuff you and I talk about. I think one thing that every interview that I've done so far. So oddly enough, this is episode 7, right?
Nice.
um, but all 6 other interviews I've done so far, at some point, everyone talks about the importance of failure and what a gift that
Oh,
is.
100%.
And Aaron and I talked about that, and you and I talked about that, and it's literally every single one.
It's the best part. And
Yeah,
I know that's gonna sound completely like random or whatever, but honestly, like to be able to fail is going to not only humble you, but you are going to learn so much because of that.
So
And
much.
I can't tell you how much failure has helped me as a musician or as a business owner or, just in every single aspect. I mean, a lot of times there's been in my past or whatever, I reacted to things a very negative way when I could like that. It's kind of like, regardless if it's like rage or anger or whatever, it's energy, right? And energy can't be created nor destroyed. It just gets transferred or redirected, right? So, I think we've heard some of the most beautiful pieces of music from pain, from loss,
Yeah.
from failure and everything. And so it's like if you really can look at it as, failure being the best catalyst and the best like weapon in your arsenal to come at things from either a different mentality and just you'll create and have more things happen than you would have never even thought of in that mental state or in that mindset because you're just worried about you failing or and I think people use, yeah, I think social media is a really big problem when it comes to that specific element because everything's got to be perfect on social media. Everybody's got to make sure they
Oh
got
yeah.
filters and they got to make sure that we don't post a demo, we post the song, or we post, clips that are going to get virality or whatever. And screw that noise. Like, yeah, but like if you got a demo right now that's still in, whatever program that you're using and you enjoy it and you want to share it with the world, feel free. Now,
It's not doing anyone any good sitting on a hard drive. I still have an EP and an album I need to release. I think you're one of the few people that have heard most of it, but soon, very soon. Big things coming soon, right? Um, well, I
Exactly.
love it, man. You're living proof that the business and the art can really fuel each other. I appreciate you being here and taking the time. I One thing I always ask at the end, like, is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover?
No, I mean, honestly, I think we hit a lot of really, really good points, and honestly, I can't wait to see the responses and I think a lot of artists should definitely, especially with this conversation that we've had, sometimes because I mean we're just sitting back, just having just like a normal conversation, but
Yeah, yeah.
if we
That's
brought
what
out.
people might not realize. You and I have had conversations like this just on the phone for hours, just with no audience.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, it's people need to understand like when you grind in silence, the arena is empty.
Yeah.
There is nobody there cheering you on, and that is where you practice, you mold, and you just put your head down and don't focus on anything but what you're actually trying to achieve and get it done. And
I've noticed you do that, and I noticed with your social media every now and then, your profile picture and your cover photo on Facebook go black,
yep.
and I was like, okay, all right, he's grinding, he's taking, it looks like he's not doing anything. He's probably the most active right now, and nobody realizes it.
Yeah, and a lot of people that do, follow me and things like that, and with doing that as in the frequency of the times that I've needed to do that, they have caught on to that because at first when I was doing it, people were like, "Dude, are you okay? Like,
Like,
what's
bro,
wrong?"
you good?
And then they don't hear from me on Messenger, so then they think the worst, and then my phone starts blowing up and everything. But it comes to the point because like it's so easy, right, to go on like social media and let's like either scroll and I have to use social media a lot too because I'm a business owner. I have to do client acquisition. I have to go and search artists and look for
Yeah.
artists and then talk to artists and stuff. And I can send them emails for days, and a lot of them don't even like they'll respond on Messenger like this. 3 weeks later, they'll respond to my email. So, you know,
Yep.
um, but sometimes you have to like just kind of like make it known, and also too, it kind of like puts this little mystery behind it too. I find to where it's like there's something in my life that's happening where I'm only focusing on that, and yeah, could it be easy to just not change the profile and just not be active on social media? But I try and do this as a way to like let people know that it's also okay for you to do that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I think there's times where people really can like need to step away. I think they invest too much of their life into social media while, the wayside of everything else is gone to shit,
Yeah.
and
Daily
they
life
want to
falls
keep up the
apart.
persona, right? They want to keep up the persona that, people will need to like this post because they think that I've got this or that I'm doing this. I mean, I was seeing freaking influencers, like a buddy of mine that actually down in the Las Vegas airport that told me that he had an influencer come on his freaking plane one time because he flies for private jets and everything.
Yeah.
And he was like, they booked a photo shoot for this girl to come onto a private jet and take pictures for her Instagram because she has like 500,000 followers or something like that, and they think that she has private jet now. And now her posts they think that she's making all this money and stuff like that. And it was just like, man, the fact that people will do that is crazy, but they will.
I can't tell you how many times when I used to run a very large studio in Orlando, and we would have artists that would come in and they'd book the A room for like an hour or two because they wanted to be in front of that big SSL, and
Oh
they would
yeah.
do a photo shoot. And maybe we're recording in there, but we're not using that console. We're using channels 1 and 2, left and right, playback, right? Or the one that cracked me up is we would do an hour or two in the A room and the photo shoot and all that, and the video and the Instagram, and then we would move over to the C room where we're on an AWS 900 to do the actual tracking. Yeah, it's
Cloud's a hell of a drug.
it's funny. The other thing with social media, though, you hit the nail on the head with this, where like I had a meeting last week. I was lucky enough to go up to Apple Music and tour their facilities up there, and I was talking with some of the people there, and they were saying that when they're reaching out to artists and trying to work with artists in different capacities, they would email the management or email the representatives of the artists, and they wouldn't really hear much, or they just exhausted their network and weren't able to like find new artists necessarily as easily. So they just started going on Instagram and be like, who's commenting? Like, if you look on like Billie Eilish or Taylor Swift, who's commenting on there that are also other people in the industry? And they would just shoot them messages on Instagram. Like that's how they're connecting. And I was like, okay, Apple, one of the biggest companies in the world, is using Instagram to like reach out, like, hey, you want to do some cool stuff together?
Yeah, I mean, and that's crazy too, because yeah, I mean, it just kind of shows how like that the communication lines have changed.
Yeah.
And and those things can happen and stuff. And but kind of like what we were saying too about the anomalies, right? For everybody listening out there, always be wary of that. Don't think that that's your path. Don't think that that's how it's going to happen to you, and don't
Sure.
expect that it's going to happen to you like that. I mean, if it does, then that's great. Then you could be one of those added anomalies. But if you look at how many bands there are in the United States, for example, right now, you will be shocked because you will think that, okay, all these people have platforms. Anybody can inflate their numbers nowadays.
There's at least a dozen bands on Facebook that I've seen. At least a dozen.
I mean, if we see 13, man, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Yeah. I look at Spotify and Apple Music, at least 20 bands on there. Probably more if you really look. Yeah.
Those 20 bands quit their day job for sure.
Exactly. We've had a great conversation. I really enjoyed having you. Again, I appreciate you taking the time. I've asked you a bunch of questions. One thing I want to do is at the end of our segments, give you a chance to ask me a question.
Yeah. Okay. So, I hear you're an audio engineer. So, I mean,
you noticed that, didn't you?
I would say what would be in today's day and age, and I've actually had this conversation with a couple others. So with like AI, and I've seen a lot of people try and do like this AI artistry, to where like they'll have the AI write the music. They'll have these apps to where they'll talk into an AI app, and then they'll just put like that voice perfected over the song, so
Yeah.
it'll sound like them. The music will be whatever they want it to be and sound like, and could probably have a lot of trajectory and traction if the right person hears it. But what do you see as like the downfalls when it comes to, I mean, I see a lot of downfalls with even just saying that, but just as, an engineer and somebody that works with artists that put in the work as like the guitar player, the drummer, or the brand itself that put that work in to make those songs, and then somebody that can go out there and find and try and achieve success through like a chat GPT way of making music.
Yeah. Wow. Great question. So there's a lot of layers to that, man. I mean, even recently, the producer Timberland signed an AI artist, right? That's completely AI fabricated. I know I've seen out of Japan over the last 2 years. There's a couple artists that are completely fictional, right? The music and everything. Um, there was, oh, I can't remember the name of the band. Actually, you mentioned David. He just did a cool little Instagram blog I saw about this, but somebody will mention in the comments. But there's a band that came out in the last couple weeks that is completely AI. They have full AI backstories, um, like not AI backstories. They have full band member
Yeah.
biographies and
Mm,
every of this whole like thing, and they're not telling people that this isn't a real band. They're not saying, oh, this is a fictional story. They're presenting these characters and this music as a real band, and they amassed hundreds of thousands of plays in a couple days, so that opens up a can of worms right there. Legally, if you really are, you get your lawyers and you really dive into the legality of like having your music on Spotify, you can't, just in general, you can't deceive the public by saying that this is a real band and this is real music created by people when it's not.
right.
Um, but just in general, you can't willingly deceive the public in business, but is that artistry? Is that, like movies, where you're, where's that line? And I think the courts, I think the laws need to catch up, and I think they're going to
For
do that
sure.
pretty soon here to get kind of decide if you can legally do that. I know YouTube just implemented something where they're starting to crack down on, is this a real person? Is this a real voice? Or is this a computerized representation? So I think we're going to see the laws, and it's a brand new thing, but it's going to catch up with people to where we're not going to see fully AI developed stuff as much, or at least there'll be warnings and we know it is.
Yeah.
Um, but also with technology, everybody's always scared of new technology. So do you fight it, or do you embrace it and use it as a tool? When it comes to recording, like, what do you mean you're going to take a spring reverb or a plate reverb and you're going to make a digital version of it? Like, that's not real. That's not a reverb, right?
Right.
What do you mean you were going to use Kempers and Axe effects and amp modeling profiling and not have a real amp, right?
Yeah, that's right. Mhm.
You always have that pushback of people like, well, no, that's not real. That's not a real Marshall. That's a Kemper. So it doesn't sound as good, quote unquote, but they do. Um, so I think as an engineer and as an artist, being aware of what's happening, because it's technology mixing with music, right? So technology moves fast. You got Moore's law that it's going to happen quickly, and to be aware of what's happening in the industry, to keep up to date on the changes that are being made, and to utilize it as a tool, I think is important. But I'm not scared of AI personally, or AI artists, because I think that I at the end of the day, the artist has a voice, the artist has a
Yeah.
soul, the artist has something to say. And I don't know if that voice, not literal voice, but that voice of what the thing that keeps them up at night, that makes them want to create. I don't think that technology is going to get to a point where it's going to replicate that. I think you're always going to have a need for those artists that have that thing.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. And
No, I love that.
if we're all overrun by Terminators in 20 years, then we know I was wrong.
For sure. For sure.
But yeah, great question, man. The AI thing is definitely on the forefront, and if it's not, it should be of everybody's thoughts.
Oh,
So
yeah, man.
cool, man. Well, that's it for us.
Well, man, hey, thank you for having me on. Great conversation. I definitely think that we hit a lot of really, really good points that I think any artist listening into this can either relate to, or definitely like respect and kind of take into what they're doing currently. And, I hope the best for the industry, and then, yeah, it's crazy right now, but it's always gonna be crazy, and like you said, you can either embrace certain things or fight them, and finding out what line that is in
Yeah.
certain areas
I
is
mean,
where we're at right now. But
you and I don't know anything more than the next guy, really, right? So you can look at everything we're saying and go, these guys have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
bullshit.
Yeah, fucking bullshit. These guys don't know a damn thing. And if that's your take on this, that's great. That's fine. Send us a message, like leave a
Oh no,
comment.
please,
Tell us
please.
why we're wrong and why you think something's done a little bit better, because there isn't one way to do this. There isn't one path or one journey. And we're here to explore those. And you know, if you think we're
Oh
full of shit, cool. If you don't, then I don't think we are.
yeah. Challenge our shit.
Yeah, love being challenged. Please do. Well, on that note, man, yeah, let's catch up soon, dude. It was good talking to you.
A pleasure, bro. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
That wraps up today's episode of Yes, Quit Your Day Job. Big thanks to Jonathan Price for dropping so much wisdom on what it really means to be a professional artist. Remember, there's no such thing as a local band. You're either building something or burning out, and the difference is how you handle your business. Catch more from John at Mainstage Music Group or follow his band Price on socials. We have a new episode every Tuesday, and we've got more incredible guests on deck. Until then, stay sharp, stay loud, and don't wait for permission.